So for today's video, guys, I'm gonna be drawing y'all a goofy little girl, and it's more like a pose kind of taken in a picture or a camera. And the inspiration behind this has definitely got to be my daughter when she was young, and I think she was maybe about 7 or 8, maybe 9 years old. And I was busy playing around with my cell phone at the time, and I was like, hey, strike a pose. And this is kind of like the goofy pose that she did, and I kind of wanted to recreate that. So that being said, let's get started. So here you can see me doing the beautiful part of the illustration, which is the line art. And I think this part for all my illustrations is always my favorite, because there's so much you can play around with, and moreover because it's Procreate, because this is the app that started the whole digital art journey before Adobe Fresco and all came about. And the thing what I like most about Adobe Fresco, Procreate, is the fact that the drawing experience is as close to a traditional drawing method that you could possibly use. Because if you look at the app, the tools to select is very minimalistic, and if this is your first or ever drawing app, it would be really easy to teach yourself how to mess around with it and learn how to draw, because as I said, it comes as close to the traditional drawing experience. And the amount of brushes that they have in this program, I'm sure a lot of other artists have already covered this, but what I like personally about this app is the fact that the ease of use. And when I was starting out drawing digitally, I first originally used to draw on Photoshop, and it was not 100% digital. What I used to do is I used to draw my sketches rough on paper, scan them into the computer, and then manually trace over them with the mouse. And this was a real challenge back then. This was probably about 5 or 6 years ago, before I even got my tablet. And drawing in Photoshop and inking with the mouse is a real interesting thing, because you have to look at the screen and your hand pretty much moves the mouse, so you're pretty much trying to mimic where the cursor on the screen is going to be and where your mouse is going to be. So drawing on the tablet right now is definitely such a huge upgrade, and it's just a fun experience to draw with. And if anybody out there has just got a brand new tablet and has just started drawing, I know eventually, if it is something that you've never used before, it's kind of a little intimidating, which is what it was for me when my daughter at first got her tablet. And she was like, Dad, give it a try. And at first, when I tried drawing with a stylus, it kind of felt really weird, because you have this plastic nib touching the glass display, so there's no resistance, as opposed to when you're drawing on regular paper. You have the resistance of the canvas or the paper, and then your pen or your pencil touching the paper. So that whole feeling is eliminated when you're drawing digitally. So there have been other artists that talk about using these textured screensavers, but I've used them myself, and I think after using the textured screensavers and using a glass screensaver, I prefer the glass now, because the textured screensaver after a while tends to wear down the nib. So the the feeling of uncertainty kind of just hits you unexpectedly when that nib of yours completely wears down and it just scratches the screensaver, or the not the screensaver, I'm sorry, the actual what is it called, a screen protector and he kind of was like, oh man, did I just scratch my tablet? So yeah, that's why I kind of switched over back to these glass screensavers. But anyway, that's against the point. I got kind of carried on a ramble of talking about how I got into digital art. But as I said, yeah, drawing with the tablet now, and when I first started out, was just such a big difference. I mean, like, like my first initial drawings that I did were like just kind of like, yeah, it was really boring. But as you do it, and that's just any art, in general. I mean, if you're drawing traditionally and you want to try a different medium, whether it be oil paints or whether it be acrylic or whatever, it always takes a whole lot of time to perfect and get good at a skill at drawing. So as I said before, if this is your first time drawing and you are not getting the art to look like what I'm drawing on the screen right now, don't worry about it. Just keep on practicing, and eventually it will come to you. In fact, before recording this video earlier today, and I was just talking to my wife, and I was just telling her, I was like, back up until 2018, I was not really drawing consistently. And when I first started drawing back again, which is back in 2018, I mean, my art was just, I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, this is horrible. And I was like, have I completely lost my skills to draw? And, eventually with time, it's got a little bit better. And, it's all about putting in the time. And I think that's with anything that you do, And here's another thing which I always struggle to draw, which is hands. And this is another thing, like, I always use basic shapes and try to see how I can tweak the dimensions, and just try drawing goofy hands, drawing cartoon hands like this, skeleton hands. But all in all, drawing for me has always been a very soothing thing, and I hope when the viewers out there watch me draw, I hope you guys are inspired to create your very own pieces, and just enjoy the process, turn on some music and just have fun. As I was listening back to the voiceover that I just did, I was just like, man, I kept saying screensaver for all those earlier recordings, and what I was really trying to say was the screen protector. So there's a little correction for you guys, and if y'all are wondering what the hell is a screensaver, yeah, I meant to say screen protector. I don't know why I was saying screensaver, but anyway, getting back to it. Just finishing up the line art is, as I said, the fun part. And drawing these female characters is definitely been a fun little project that I've started doing, because my female characters for the longest time, whether it be these cartoon ones or whether I've tried to draw realistically, has just been just lousy. When I look at it, I'm like, man, I was like, this girl or this woman or any character that I try to draw like a lady or trying to be a lady, always comes out really very but as I said, I always try my best to keep practicing when I'm not recording, and try to get good at this better one day at a time. So which is why I tried this series, or kick the series off with all the characters that I've drawn up until now. And I think so far the cartoon characters is fun to draw, because there's no pressure to make the character look human-like. It's a cartoon, so you can have the googly eyes, you can have the small little eyes, and it's just it's all up to your imagination. But as I said, another thing is drawing the hands is another thing. I just keep practicing, and eventually it's just going to keep getting better and better over time. So as I'm coming down to, or winding down with drawing the line art, I was trying to think as to what colors I would wanted to use for her. And when I was looking up the website that I told you guys earlier about in my other illustration, which is coolers dot, I think it was co or in, I'm not really sure what the extension is. They give you a wide array of palettes to choose from, but for this one I wanted to choose the colors. One of my favorite artists that I follow online, which is a very famous artist at this point, his name is 1000, and his favorite use of colors is teal and almost like a mango kind of an orange. So I wanted to play around with those colors for this illustration. And I think when you are ready to color any illustration, I think the colors that you choose really give the character a lot of life, and they also tell a good story behind each piece that you do, because at the end of it all, once everything is done, like you're done with the shadows and the highlights, the colors really play a really strong role in telling the emotion of the character, whether it's a friendly piece, whether it's a family oriented piece, or you're just having, just doing a goofy drawing like this and just choosing colors on the fly. So now for a skin tone, I kind of wanted to give her kind of like a slight, like a tan kind of a look. So I started with this really light kind of I think it was a very light shade of orange. And for the hair, I just picked a brown, so that way when I did the shading, it would kind of have like that nice glow look to it. So after I chose the color for her tongue, I wanted to try a different approach when it came to the whole shading. Up until now, I've told you guys that I've been doing the technique where I use the line art and just reduce the opacity from 30 to about 20% and see what's the difference. But then for this one, what I did was I did it in my old school way, or the one I used to do before doing that technique, which is I just chose, like now for her hair, I just chose a darker brown, so which would show where the shadows would be, and I started doing that for the most part of the piece. Yeah, it took a little bit longer than it usually would, but what I ended up noticing is when I did this technique as opposed to doing the using the line art and opacity, the only difference is if you do it at 30% grade or opacity, it looks a little bit darker, but then when you drop it down to 20, it's pretty much the exact same look and feel. I mean, there's not a drastic difference. And I actually did a side-by-side comparison. Like I just did like a demo drawing, like I just drew a small little face and tried the first method, which is the line art and opacity layer, and then on the next layer I just did it manually where I selected the color and looked at the difference. And the biggest pro I would have to say with doing the first option is that if you decide you want to change colors, the simple thing to do is, you just swap out the colors and boom, you have your shading automatically show up on the new colors. But now for the highlights, that's something I'm still working on to see if there is another cheat way or an easier way to do it, and see how that turns out. If there's anybody out there that's watching that's another new artist, or you guys do something different, let me know in the comments below what is it you guys try and what works and what you're like. And as you can see over here, I like using the selection tool to get the shading down, because that gives a nice, very unique kind of almost like a traditional kind of look and feel, because of how you can make the selection jagged or smooth. And there's a lot of fun in having to play around with the different ways that you can do the shading for each of the illustrations. As I continue the shading through the illustration, I'm constantly turning the canvas, zooming in and out to kind of just get a good understanding of how the shadows and the highlights are going to look. So for this part over here, I did the wavy, almost like a fire kind of a look for the shading, and I kind of liked how it turned out because it almost gives the dress kind of like a design kind of a look to it, as opposed to it just being just the shading. And that's the thing. What is fun about doing the coloring process is you can always try different things and see what you like. And for me, especially, like, drawing these cartoon humanoid characters as opposed to drawing my skeleton art, which is on my other channel, is kind of like a good balance between drawing the human form. I know it's just, even though it's a cartoony kind of a look, as opposed to drawing the skeleton form, because it's kind of like, trying to improve my skills in different aspects. Like, like when I draw my skeletons, it's always textured art. And here it's more like the smooth lines, giving the different effects to what a fabric would look like. I know, yeah, this is obviously, as I said, a cartoony look, but if you observe real clothes, and if you look like at a silk dress or a cotton t-shirt, like, the way to render the fabric to make it look like it has the creases and the bends in the fabric is unique, because even though, it's something as simple as a t-shirt, when you actually go to render it, it might look like it has different colors because of the lights and shadows, but it's all about how the fabric actually lays on the body. And I remember back in art school, when we had a project where we had to draw like still life, there was this one assignment where we had to draw this apple and bananas in a bowl, and there was some fabric wrapped around the fruits. So it's kind of unique, like, from one point of the room, the shadows on the fruits would look a certain way, and then if you move to the other side of the room, the light would make it look a different way. So it's always good to keep practicing your skills, no matter how far in your art journey. Or like for me, I don't know if I may have said this, but my grandfather used to be an artist, and he used to specialize in oil paints. And I looked at how oil paints work and how he used to use them, and I was like, you know what? I don't know if I'd ever want to mess with oil paints, given the fact that they take forever to dry. And I'm kind of these people where I like to get an illustration done and, go as quickly as possible and then get to the next one. Because I feel like my brain is just full of ideas. And I feel like if I were to limit my ability of drawing and creating to doing it with the oil paints, I think I would not create or not illustrate as much as I do right now. And drawing digitally, I think, is by far a very soothing process. And drawing traditionally, is fun as well, but I think each of them have got their own unique pros and cons. And like for me, when I create my art, it's all about using the pros of each of the options you have. Like, I think the biggest pro about digital art is if you want to make a rough sketch and you do it digitally, it's so much easier to tweak that as opposed to if you did the same thing traditionally. Yeah, granted, the corrections or the part to correct it when you do it traditionally takes a little bit of time. But if you are on a time schedule, then yes, digital is definitely the way to go. So as you can see now, her shading is coming out pretty good. I like how the dark shade over here I gave her for her eyes kind of gives it that nice supple tan look. And I kind of wanted to use the smudge tool, which kind of gives it like a nice airbrush feel. But I was like, you know what, let me just leave it simple so that way it doesn't get too complicated. And then, as I said, just following the illustration and then going from one part to the other. I think sometimes what I should do is work on a certain point of the or a certain part of the illustration and then slowly work my way to the, like, for this one, like the head and then the neck and then the body. But every time I say I'm gonna do that, I always end up doing the opposite, where it'll be like I start in one area and then I move to a different area and then I come back, and it's like at the end of it I'm like it's all over the place. But as I said, like, drawing is, for me, is very therapeutic, and the day it starts getting boring is the day I should stop, and or at least I really like to have fun when I'm doing my drawings and illustration, like, whether it be listening to some music when I'm drawing, because I notice, like, when I listen to my music and I draw and I look at the art as opposed to doing an illustration without any music, the art seems to kind of have a different flow to it. And I know this kind of might sound a little weird or not make any sense, but it almost feels like when I'm listening to music and I make my art, the character kind of has like a dance kind of a vibe theme to it, as opposed to when I'm drawing it just without any music and it's just quiet. But yeah, have you guys ever noticed that when you all draw, like drawing to music and drawing without music and seeing the difference? I mean, like, for me, yeah, I think there's a definite what do you call it, difference in the outcome of what the illustration finally looks like. So as you can see now, I've started the shading of a head, and as I said, like, drawing and trying different things on different illustrations is nice, because then, and when you create a lot of pieces, you tend to learn something slowly from each piece. Like, you do something small in this piece that you like, and then you carry it over to the next one, and it's all about having fun. And she's living goofy over here. I think I was able to capture the exact essence of what I was trying to. I mean, yeah, granted, my daughter was not wearing a orange and a teal kind of a night dress, but I mean, I just wanted to try this two shades of color and see how they work out. And I like how it has that nice tropical kind of, like, that summery holiday kind of feel to it. So yeah, so I might definitely use this color pattern and maybe in another illustration. And but yes, my one color which is my absolute favorite is blues, because I mean, it's just so peaceful just to draw with that color. I mean, like, especially when you think about the ocean and you look at it in all its glory, it's beautiful. So here for the highlights, I just chose a lighter shade for this teal, and as I said, like, I like how it gave that nice wave kind of a look to the dress, almost like as if the dress has kind of got like that beach kind of a theme going on, which was absolutely not my plan when I was picking out these colors. But it's cool how slowly things come together, and you make each illustration have this different storyline, and all in all. But I mean, like, these doing these illustrations has really been fun, and I've got a few more lined up, and I'm trying to remember what I've planned for the next one. I think maybe it's a construction worker or something like that. I might have to look it up. But yeah, what do you guys think so far, guys? Are y'all having fun? Have y'all followed along? And if y'all are drawing along, tag me in my Instagram, and I would definitely like to see what you guys have created. And it's always nice to see new artists do their version of something that you've drawn, because then again it's kind of like looking at that same art piece kind of recreated through somebody else's vision. So it's always fun to see that the colors they choose and all that. So yeah, and it is starting to rain where I'm at. I don't know if you guys can hear that in the background, but it's starting to come down. And when it does, my gosh, it really comes down. Thank God it's not lightning and thundering as yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be coming down soon. So I don't know, what else can I possibly say for this video? All in all, yeah, it's been a really cool and fun illustration, just like all the other ones that I did, which was the starting of the village man and then the lady. I think all of these characters kind of slowly fit into their own little world, and I think if I were to take each of them and put them all together, it would kind of look like a beautiful, nice collage and a nice colorful doodle. And maybe I should just do that just for the heck of it, maybe put them all together and see what it looks like. I don't know, something I might do offline, and just post a picture of it on my Instagram, and see how all the colors kind of interact with each other, and if it looks vibrant or if it looks too busy. You won't really know till you actually do it. So this part of here for her hair also, I just chose the light color for her skin, and it ended up looking really nice, because I figured if I use the white color of the background, it would just kind of blend in. So this is something new that I've been trying based on another artist I follow, where he uses the colors that he has used in the illustration for his highlights. So all in all, I think she came out pretty goofy looking, like she always is, my daughter. And I'm really happy to have created this illustration for you guys today. And sorry for the camera shaking, but till the next time, guys, keep creating, keep drawing. I will see y'all down the road and in the next illustration. Take care. Bye for now.